Morning. It is January the 22nd. Rise and shine. This is Coffee Talk. I'm WESH 2 meteorologist Eric Burris. Hope you're having a great start to the day. Got to tell you, we have a real mess on our hands here this weekend. Not necessarily for Central Florida, but for many, many other areas. This is Futurecast for tomorrow. Excuse me, for Saturday, and we're getting warmer, but look out to Texas. Houston rain, Dallas, you see those pinks? The pinks are perhaps the worst color you could see on a weather map during winter, because that is not that's sleet, that's freezing rain, that's an ice storm. And usually that's a pretty small line, but in this case the atmosphere has the inversion just right for all the wrong things. So that's Saturday. Then on Sunday, watch what happens. That weather maker works its way off to the east and basically ends up just coating a ton of the deep south in ice, and up into our northern spots, it's going to dump a ton of snow, like a ton of snow. So let's get right over to this, and let's just look at the American GFS model. And what we're going to do here is we're going to show the snow totals, and we're going to show the ice. So first off, these are going to be the areas that are going to see ice. Dallas, okay, Texarkana, Little Rock, Fort Smith, Memphis, Nashville, Atlanta. You ever hear of it? Yeah, lots of, even into like Roanoke, Richmond, that's going to be an ice zone. Then on the north side, the trend has been more and more north, which is actually rougher. That means that there's going to be a very significant snow now into our nation's capital. Could even be a snow sleet crossover. New York City, yeah, looking at a foot of snow there this weekend into early next week. So there is a very big, very high impact event. And, in looking at ice accumulation, you get like a quarter of an inch of ice accumulation and you've got a problem. Look at some of these numbers here, okay? Look at I didn't make this graphic, Manalfi did. I don't know why he picked Hope, Arkansas instead of Fort Smith, but I digress. He picked the random places, but I digress. Look at Atlanta, 3/4 of an inch of ice. Excuse me. Charlotte, 3/4 of an inch of ice. Travel in these areas is going to come to an absolute halt. Air travel, road travel, power outages are going to be a huge concern as well. As a matter of fact, I know we used to have this. Power outage potential. Power outage. I know we used to have this. Power outage, Florida. Power, tropical power outage. There's so many graphics. All right, this is a hurricane graphic. No, I'm trying. That was manual. All right, never mind. And it's also in the old graphics package, but I digress. All right, we don't need to look at that. You can expect, though, I would suspect that there's going to be a very significant amount of people that are not going to have power. Now, as that storm system gears up, okay, watch through Friday, already starting from Wichita to Denver to Dallas, snow to ice. Continuing on, this is going to be Saturday, 9:30. Obviously, we're looking at a wider spread, a wider swath of impacts, right? But look, and I'm going to back this up just a smidge here. Let me back it up like right there. All right, that's Saturday night into Sunday morning. Look at the sheer coverage of snow and ice, okay? Wow. This, if I haven't said it yet, this is going to be a mess. A mess. And then by Sunday, you can see the snow starting to work in. That's 9 a.m. Sunday. Starting to work into New York City, just south of Chicago, but it'll be snowing pretty good there in Washington, D.C. And then there's New York, there's Washington, snowing like crazy overnight, Sunday into Monday, and then clearing out. And then this is going to be Monday, 10 p.m. The snow moving off the shoreline of the northeastern United States, New England, Nova Scotia, the Canadian Maritimes, right over here to our nation's capital. Things are going to be clearing out. Meanwhile, on the south side, this is 10 p.m. Monday. Notice that on the south side, there were these showers. See those showers there? Right? Like those showers are going to be moving through our area. So we do have the opportunity to see some rain on the southern side of this. But man, what a mess of a weather maker this is going to be north of us. Penny says I'm in North Carolina and listen to the forecast here. I'm like, where, Eric? This is a hurricane. No, I was looking at the power outage graphic and I pulled up one. Choke. Okay, we're gonna be good. I pulled up one from Milton. Hi, how are you? I'm Eric. I'm choking. Okay, so anyway, I digress. So you get the idea. That's going to be a mess for for travel. So again, and I'll pull up the full graphic again just to give you an idea. Just look at the sheer scope of this. Tiffany says you might not make it to New York. So plans are changing, yeah. I don't know what the new plan is yet, but plans are changing. There was probably a 0 point, especially with the newer runs of the models. There was probably a 0.0% chance that was going to happen. I wasn't going to make it to New York. So plans are changing. I'm hopeful that everything can come together. Now, maybe I'll sneak into New York just after this snowstorm moves through, snow and ice storm. And it's just like, look at some of these colors. Okay. I mean, you're talking about in some areas like here, let's do this. Let me remove the snow, ice, and warm because it's all so cute, but we want to get into some of the data here. Do that, do that, do that. Let's just do some zooming and some panning here. Okay. First off, who's going to get clobbered with snow? Well, let's just go there, okay? So now there's Fort Smith and Fayetteville, okay? Let's just start there. Fort Smith, I've been there. That was my first job offer, by the way, was Fort Smith, Arkansas, 4029, KHOG, KHBS. Now I still get to do graphics for them. But anyway, look at that. This is 2 feet of snow. What? And the struggle for them is they're going to be right. And those are the GFS, the European's going to be a little different. And I'm just using this as kind of a blanket example. But like I-40 is going to be right on the snow sleet line. Oh my goodness. What a mess. Let's continue along. I just want to look at some of the bigger snow numbers. Paducah, Kentucky, 1 foot to 1.5 foot of snow. And then it's showing a bit of a maximum here around Lexington, Kentucky. Right? Just out Louisville looking like 1 foot to 1.5 foot, but Lexington, Kentucky's getting even heavier snow than that. Man, what a mess. And I'm not saying hey, he's hyping. No, bro, not hyping. But like the data is the data. This ain't going to be fun, period. Hagerstown, Maryland. So based on the most recent GFS, look at that. The DMV, the Washington, D.C. metro area. The district, Maryland, Virginia. That's the DMV there. Right on that ice line. Can you imagine what a mess the district is going to be? The district, I love D.C. If you've never been, I mean, take out any politics because we don't talk politics on Coffee Talk. But sidebar, I love D.C. and it's cool. This weekend it ain't gonna be cool. It's gonna be a freezer. Seriously, like significant snow. That's gonna shut that place down. It's a huge. So Diane says this storm looks huge. It is going to be huge. Oh, Marianne says, what about flying out next week to New York City? Funny, I would like to do that. Hopefully. Yeah, hopefully. All right, let's continue on. Philadelphia, Allentown, Harrisburg. And we're going down to Allentown. Anyway, so the GFS is putting about 1 foot to 1.5 foot of snow into the city, but out to Harrisburg, Scranton looking more like 1.5 foot to 2 feet. Golly. Now, I can look at the data with you. We can talk about the weather setup together. But I know somebody like Chris Pierce is going to reach out and be like, when was the last time that they had this kind of snow? Dude, I'm a Central Florida meteorologist. I have no idea. So I can't give you like the climatology of this other than to say this is going to be messy. Okay, even up into Boston. Okay, look like the Montauk looking at about a foot to a foot and a half. Boston, a foot to a foot and a half of snow. Providence, Rhode Island, foot and a half of snow. Then we get up into my second love, Maine, less. Anywhere from they can handle it up there, but yeah, Portland, Maine, looking at about a half a foot to a foot of snow. I bet you if we, you know what's funny is like if we were to put on a Washington, D.C. television station, it would probably be like, this is going to be bad. If we put on a New York City television station, this is going to be bad. If we put on a Boston station, they're going to be like, there's going to be some snow. You put on Maine, and they're going to be like, wish we got more snow, right? Like, it's just so funny how it plays out. So, anyway, um, that's the GFS. And of course, model runs are going to change from run to run to run. I saw there was a video I got targeted for. Bill Maher was talking about how to trust or not trust things on social media. And I thought it was interesting enough to share. So if you see somebody saying things like trees are going to explode, if you see people talking about exploding or constantly saying historic or like history is being written every day. So, of course, everything that happens is historic. Shut it with your buzzwords, AI. But if those are the people that you're, just always consider your sources. Of course, it's historic. Every day, new history is written. This is going to be a nasty storm system. So, friends or family that live in these areas, particularly the ice areas, snow is rough. Ice is actually very, very bad. It weighs down power lines, it weighs down tree limbs. Trees don't explode. I saw like an actual degreed meteorologist yesterday talking about exploding trees because of the cold. And I'm like, what in the actual blankety blank is this dude talking about? Trees don't just explode. Not unless you put some gasoline on them and light them. So anyway, if you've got friends or family that live from Dallas through to Fort Smith, in through Tennessee, Knoxville, Memphis, Nashville, Atlanta, Charlotte, even up into the nation's capital, like what they need to be able to do is to sustain themselves for no different than us in a hurricane, sustain themselves for about a week without power. The difference between a hurricane is in a hurricane, we can open up the windows. In an ice system, you can't. So we just need to make sure we can safely just stay inside, because what you cannot do is you cannot plan for the roads to be cleared after an ice storm. That's going to take time. You know what I mean? Lindsay says, exploding trees is by far my favorite commentary from me. Well, like, I saw that and I'm like, what world are we in? You know? Nautilus says, for sure, I've seen people saying historic or deadly. Literally, a sunny day can be deadly, right? Like if you're saying things and doing things for buzz and hype, you're part of the problem. And look, we're in this together, so it is what it is. Anyway, spontaneous combustion. Yeah, I've heard of spontaneous combustion more than exploding trees. So yeah. So Betty's mentioning, looking forward to seeing how hurricane hunters can apply their data to this type of a storm. That's wonderful. So think about it. We call it a hurricane hunter because that's what its use was born in. But at the end of the day, what they are is meteorological air-based laboratories. They're able to take and send out dropsondes and sample air and send that data right into the computers. So whether it's a hurricane or a big snow and ice storm like this, it's going to give us vital data that's going into the computer models and then will give us a better output. Because remember, it's kind of like this. I can see you. I have an idea how you look. You're good looking. Don't you worry about that. But if I can see you better, Now I know you're good looking. Right? It's the same thing with a computer and a computer model and a storm system, whether there's snow or ice or 150-mile-per-hour winds in a hurricane. It's the same idea, taking more of a data set, putting it in, and having the computer models to be able to judge that. So, yeah. Victoria, question. Someone told me this week was getting snow last year, and now this year Florida getting a likelihood of hurricanes coming to Florida. Huh? Victoria, what question? Someone told me this week that getting snow last year and now this year in Florida is what's keeping the likelihood of hurricanes from coming to Florida. Is this true? My head hurts just thinking about that. We know that there's long form patterns, right? And that they recycle. I'm going to put the 7-day forecast up, by the way, while we're doing that. No hurricanes in there. I wouldn't say that there's like, it snowed in Florida, we're not going to get hit by a hurricane. I wouldn't say that that's the case. So, see, Chris Pierce, older, wiser, says, short answer, no. I should have just said that. Thank you, Chris. Short answer, no. Short answer, no. It's perfect. Yeah. All right. All right. We good? Debbie wants the coastal forecast. Just for you, Debbie. As long as Marquise updated it. All right, there you go. So we got colder air coming in. This storm system's going to be doing its thing and then moving through. Tiffany says, oh my goodness, the weirdest example. Listen. I may not be great with analogies, but you understand them, don't you? All right. All I got. Listen, be the sunshine in someone else's day, okay? Thank you all for hanging out for Coffee Talk. I'll see you tomorrow. All right. Be good. Bye, everybody.